At 0356 local time, the ocean sits still. The carrier holds a steady speed, flight deck quiet. Routine watch rotations move through the middle of the morning cycle. Below the surface, nothing shows itself. No wake, no disturbance, only water. Then the sound changes. In the sonar room, a low-frequency return slides into the headset feed. Thin, controlled, and wrong. Not marine life, not background noise. It holds its tone longer than it should, clean and deliberate. The operator doesn't speak right away. He adjusts the gain. The signal stays. Another sweep confirms it. The contact sits deep, moving and picking up speed. On the screen, a faint line starts stretching forward. The vector is steady, the bearing precise. This isn't drift. This isn't debris. Whatever it is, it has chosen a direction. At 0357, the console light shifts from green to amber. That change travels up through the ship faster than any alarm could. In the Combat Information Center, conversations stop mid-sentence. A watch officer straightens, a hand freezes over a keyboard. Nobody raises their voice. They don't need to. New subsurface contact. The call comes in flat, controlled, stripped of adjectives. The carrier doesn't change course, not yet. Multiple sensors start layering in. Passive arrays refine the bearing. Timestamps sync up. And the contact's speed climbs again, smooth and consistent. No random wobble, no hesitation. This is propelled movement. On the bridge, the captain studies the repeater without comment. The data already speaks plainly. The contact is closing from depth, holding a steady intercept line, still distant, still outside any defensive trigger point, but intent doesn't require proximity. At 0358, the ship's internal posture shifts, not to full alert, not even close. Just enough that every critical station is now manned by someone who has stopped thinking about breakfast. Down on the hangar deck, a maintenance crew pauses as the lighting subtly changes tone. Above them, the flight deck stays still. Aircraft sit chained down, silent. From outside, nothing looks different. Inside, everything does. The contact holds depth. Then it begins a shallow climb. Not a rush, not a sprint. A measured ascent built to preserve guidance and energy. Whoever launched it didn't want speed. They wanted certainty. Classify the track. The order comes through. The system works the problem, compares signatures, rules out false positives, narrows the field. This isn't a training run. At 0400, the classification locks in. No announcement follows. The label on the screen is enough. The room absorbs it without reaction. There's no surprise here, only confirmation. A torpedo, not lost, not wandering, not searching at random. It's riding a clean solution straight toward the carrier's projected track. Distance still buys options, time still exists, but the margin is no longer theoretical. On an escort ship of the starboard quarter, a similar silence takes hold. Data links flicker with new entries. The formation adjusts, almost imperceptibly, still tightening around the carrier like a reflex. No weapon fires, no countermeasure yet. This phase is about watching. At 0401, the torpedo picks up speed again. That's the moment the room shifts. Not visibly, not emotionally, but procedurally. The track is no longer assessed as potential. It's active, committed. The map has collapsed into a single line pointing one direction, at the carrier. A junior officer glances at the range readout, then looks away. He already knows what it means. The torpedo is still minutes out, but it has crossed the line where intent is undeniable. The captain finally speaks. One calm, exact sentence. No repeat follows. Systems acknowledge, displays adjust. Somewhere deep inside the ship, mechanisms unlock and wait without moving. They don't act until told. They never act early. At 0402, the ocean above the torpedo stays undisturbed. Passengers on a merchant vessel miles away would see nothing but open water. No plume, no wake, no hint that steel is racing beneath the surface toward one of the most heavily protected ships on Earth. Inside the carrier, nobody is watching the ocean. Every eye is on the line. because by this point the water has already been broken, and whatever's coming has no intention of stopping on its own. At 0403 the numbers start closing. Range drops in clean, predictable increments. The bearing holds steady. Depth stays disciplined, just under the layer where surface noise would interfere. Whoever programmed the weapon understood the water. This isn't a desperate shot. In the Combat Information Center, the track is no longer treated as a contact. It's treated as a system. Inputs stack up in quiet succession. Speed, depth, thermal gradient, drift, closure rate. Each update sharpens the picture, stripping away doubt. The torpedo isn't searching, it's navigating. The carrier holds course deliberately. Any sudden maneuver right now would do more harm than good. Evasion comes later, if at all. Right now, clarity matters more than motion. On the screen, a thin projection line stretches forward from the torpedo icon. It intersects the carrier's predicted track, not at the bow, not at the stern, but squarely amidships. That detail doesn't trigger a reaction, it simply confirms intent. At 0404, the ship's data links light up again. Escort vessels feed in corroborating tracks, different sensors, different angles, same result. No divergence, no confusion. The kill chain holds intact. The weapon's guidance stays stable inside the sonar room. The operator adjusts filters, isolating the signature from background clutter. The sound is unmistakable now. A steady, efficient mechanical pulse, riding the water with purpose. Not the frantic tone of a seeker hunting blind. This one already knows where it's going. Time to intercept falls under 4 minutes. Nobody announces it. The number doesn't need a voice. The carrier's defensive architecture shifts to its next layer, not weapons. Awareness. Algorithms recalculate intercept windows. Countermeasure envelopes are drawn, erased, redrawn. Options get evaluated, not selected. Every choice carries consequences. At 0405, the torpedo alters depth by a few meters. It's a small move, almost invisible, but it matters. The adjustment aligns it with a cleaner acoustic channel, cutting interference from surface turbulence. That refinement tells the story better than any flag or radio call ever could. This isn't a warning shot. This is a solution. On the bridge, the captain watches the updated track without expression. He's seen these patterns before. Training scenarios, simulations, cold exercises in controlled waters. This one is real. The carrier's escorts shift again, spacing adjusting just enough to bring overlapping coverage into play. No ship breaks formation, nobody rushes ahead. This isn't a chase, it's a net. At 0406, the torpedo's speed stabilizes. That matters more than acceleration would. A constant speed means the guidance has settled. The weapon is no longer correcting aggressively, it's confident. Inside the CIC, a watch officer notes the change. He doesn't comment. The data speaks for itself. Range keeps shrinking. 3 minutes. Somewhere below deck, a sailor secures a loose tool without being told. Another cinches down a strap. These aren't orders, they're habits learned the hard way. Above, the flight deck stays silent. Aircraft remain chained. There will be no launch right now. Air power doesn't solve underwater problems this late in the sequence. At 0407, the torpedo climbs again, shallow and controlled. It's positioning for terminal guidance. This is the point where the kill chain gets harder to break. Passive tracking gives way to the threat of active guidance. The weapon is close enough now that it could choose to switch on its own sensors at any moment. If it does, reaction time collapses dramatically. The carrier systems quietly prepare for that possibility. No alarm sounds, no klaxon. The ship doesn't announce fear. Time to intercept drops under 2 minutes. On the tactical display, the solution cone narrows to a thin wedge. Fewer places to hide now, fewer options that don't involve engagement. This is where indecision kills ships. At 0408, the torpedo holds its line. No erratic movement, no burst of speed, no last-second sprint, just steady closure. The weapon has entered the window where physics takes over. Even if guidance were lost now, momentum would carry dangerously close. That's the reality the crew is working inside. The captain gives another short order, no explanation attached. Everyone who needs to understand already does. Systems acknowledge. Counters begin to arm, but stay dormant. They won't be used unless they have to be, because the next move, whatever it is, will decide whether this stays a quiet contest of sensors and discipline or turns into something far louder, with the clock no longer measured in minutes. At 0409, the math stops being theoretical. Range drops through the last cushion, where time still forgives hesitation. From here on, every second removes an option. The track stays clean, bearing unchanged, depth precise. The torpedo is no longer just approaching the carrier's path, it's converging on it. Inside the Combat Information Center, the display updates again. The projected intercept point tightens into a narrow corridor but leaves no room for interpretation. The weapons line doesn't wander, doesn't probe, doesn't test alternatives. It commits. Time to intercept falls under 90 seconds. Nobody announces it. The number doesn't need a voice. It sits there, red and absolute. A countdown without sound. On the bridge, the captain shifts his weight slightly, eyes still on the repeater. He doesn't ask for recommendations. Recommendations have already been processed, sorted, and either discarded or held by the system and the people running it. This isn't a debate phase. The torpedo makes a subtle correction, barely visible to an untrained eye. A fractional depth change, a slight realignment of course. The movement is surgical, not desperate. It's compensating for a variable the carrier introduced earlier without changing heading. That detail matters. It means the weapon isn't guessing. At 0410, the escorts reach their final positions. Overlapping fields align, distances compress. Steel settles into a configuration built to absorb shock without amplifying chaos. No ship accelerates, no ship turns sharply. They hold. The carrier stays steady. A sudden maneuver now could expose vulnerable geometry, create acoustic spikes, or break coordination. Movement is a tool, but only when used at the right second. That second hasn't come yet. In the sonar room, the operator hears the tone sharpen. The sound isn't just present anymore, it's insistent. The mechanical pulse carries a confidence that leaves no doubt about intent. This isn't a seeker wandering in the dark. This is a guided system riding a solution it trusts. Time to intercept crosses 60 seconds. This is the line. Beyond it, physics dominates. Reaction windows collapse. Defensive layers stack so tightly that one error propagates instantly into another. The captain speaks again. One sentence, not loud, not dramatic, mentioning no weapon and no target. It names a state, a posture, a shift from watching to readiness. Across the ship, acknowledgements spread without noise. Systems transition, safeties release. Doors that never move unless ordered unlock and wait. Somewhere far below, a mechanism hums to life. Not firing, not emitting, just ready. At 0411, the torpedo climbs into its terminal bend. This is where many weapons announce themselves. A burst of active sonar, a sudden sprint, a desperate attempt to lock before countermeasures bloom. This one does neither. It stays quiet. That restraint is more dangerous than speed. The carrier's sensors strain for any hint of emission. None comes. The torpedo is trusting its inertial guidance, its stored data, its confidence in where the carrier will be when it arrives. Time to intercept falls under 40 seconds. There's no benefit left in waiting, but there's still a risk in acting too soon. The captain glances at the clock once, only once. Then his eyes return to the track. He knows exactly how much time is left without needing to check again. He gives the order, short, precise, irreversible. This is the last moment where control still exists on this side of the engagement. At 0412, the ship executes, not violently, not visibly. No plume breaks the surface, no weapon launches, no explosion tears the water. Instead, the carrier attacks the problem at its source, the guidance. The response is measured, layered, and deliberately contained. The goal isn't destruction, The goal is confusion, breaking the certainty the torpedo depends on, introducing doubt where there was none. Systems activate in sequence, not all at once. Every step calibrated to avoid revealing more than necessary. This isn't a show of force, it's a test of discipline. The torpedo reacts for the first time since detection. Its line wavers, only slightly. The sound changes in the operator's headset, subtle, unmistakable. The steady mechanical rhythm stutters, then recovers, then stutters again. The weapon still moves fast, still dangerous, but it's no longer perfectly certain. Time to intercept keeps falling. 30 seconds. The torpedo tries to correct, adjusts depth again, sharper this time. The movement isn't elegant, it's compensatory, a sign that the solution it trusted is slipping. The carrier holds course, no sudden turn, no panic maneuver, because this phase isn't about outrunning still underwater. It's about forcing a machine to doubt what it believes it knows. And in the next few seconds, that doubt will decide everything. At 0413, the certainty breaks. Not all at once, not dramatically, just enough to matter. In the sonar room, the tone shifts again, uneven this time. The clean, confident rhythm that defines the contact for the last several minutes starts to fragment. It's still there, still fast, still dangerous, but it no longer sounds sure of itself. The countermeasures continue, layered and contained. Nothing explosive, nothing violent, just enough interference to force the torpedo to question the picture it's been following since launch. The weapon responds by climbing. It's a natural reaction, a move toward clearer water, toward better returns. But the ocean above is no longer honest. What the torpedo expects to see and what its sensors are feeding it no longer match. On the display, the line bends only a few degrees at first, a correction that assumes the problem is temporary. The torpedo is still trying to save its original solution. The carrier doesn't move. At 0414, the torpedo adjusts again, more aggressively this time. Speed fluctuates, depth oscillates. These aren't signs of failure. They're signs of a system working harder than it planned to. The escorts hold formation. No ship breaks the pattern. Nobody rushes to celebrate. This phase is fragile. One wrong input, one overcorrection, and the weapon could reacquire cleanly. Inside the Combat Information Center, a watch officer notices the behavioral shift. He doesn't smile, doesn't relax. He knows better. This is exactly when weapons turn unpredictable. The torpedo's guidance tries to reassert control, widening its search, sampling the acoustic environment in one more attempt to rebuild confidence. The effort costs it efficiency. Every sweep bleeds energy, every correction sacrifices momentum. Time to intercept stretches not by much, but enough to matter. At 0415, the sound in the sonar operator's headset fractures again. The once solid pulse now carries gaps, micro-pauses, moments where the weapon's systems hesitate, recalculating against a picture that no longer matches stored expectations. The torpedo still moves toward the carrier, but it no longer moves toward certainty. The carrier's systems hold steady, no escalation, no additional layers added. The response stays disciplined, designed to let the torpedo defeat itself. This isn't about overpowering the weapon, it's about outlasting its confidence. At 0416, the torpedo makes its biggest correction yet. The track swings noticeably to port, then back. The movement is no longer smooth, it's reactive. The weapon is chasing a solution that keeps shifting just out of reach. In the CIC, the projected intercept point slides off the carrier's track. Not far, not safe yet, but no longer fatal. The captain watches the screen without expression. He doesn't comment, doesn't congratulate the room. He knows the danger isn't over until the contact is no longer a contact. The torpedo's speed drops, not a shutdown, not a failure, a deliberate reduction as the system reallocates energy to detection and processing. The choice costs it range, costs it time, costs it options. At 0417, the sound fades, not gone, fading. The mechanical pulse weakens, stretched thin by corrections and wasted energy. The weapon is still alive, but its world has narrowed. The ocean it thought it understood has turned deceptive. The torpedo dips slightly, then levels off. Another attempt to stabilize. It fails. The guidance loop collapses on itself without a clean picture. The system defaults into surge behavior. The once confident intercept line dissolves into a widening arc. On the display, the track drifts away from the carrier's projected path. Time to intercept is no longer counting down, it's counting up. At 0418, the contact loses lock completely. The sound drops below the threshold where it can be reliably tracked. The last return flickers, then vanishes into background noise and thermoclines. The room stays quiet, no cheering, no exhale, no move toward relief. They wait. Seconds pass. Reacquisition attempt. Another sweep confirms it. The torpedo has lost the carrier. Whether it runs out of power, self-terminates, or sinks inert in silence doesn't matter. Its threat is gone. Only then does the captain give the order to stand down the posture. Systems power back in sequence, reversing the same path they took on the way up. Safeties re-engage, mechanisms return to standby, the ocean above stays calm. To anyone watching from a distance, nothing has changed. But beneath the surface, the most dangerous moment of the morning has already passed, and it ended not with an explosion, but with a machine realizing it no longer knew where it was. At 0419, the ocean returns to quiet, not the absence of sound. Ships are never truly silent, but the specific tension that had compressed every decision into seconds is gone. Displays settle. The last anomalous returns dissolve into background clutter and thermal layers. The water has reclaimed its secrets. Nobody celebrates. Inside the Combat Information Center, the posture eases back one step at a time. Not completely, not yet. The transition is deliberate, controlled, as if the ship itself is making sure the threat has truly passed before loosening its grip. The carrier holds course. That choice matters. A victory that forces a change of course is still a concession. This one doesn't. The ship continues exactly where it was headed, at exactly the speed it intended to hold. The escorts stay close, their spacing unchanged. Nobody peels off, nobody races ahead. The formation stays intact until certainty replaces assumption. At 0421, confirmation comes in from multiple sensors. No reacquisition, no residual guidance signals, no secondary contacts. The torpedo is gone. Whether it spent its energy, shut down on its own, or drifted harmlessly into the depths will never be known publicly. And it doesn't need to be. The result that matters has already been logged. The captain gives a short order not to counterattack, not to pursue, but to document. Across the ship, systems begin pulling data, timestamps, sensor logs, waveform captures, environmental conditions. Every second of the encounter is preserved, encrypted, and stored. This isn't about headlines or statements, this is about memory. Below deck, analysts are already reconstructing the launch profile. The bearing traced backward, the speed curves mapped, the guidance behavior compared against known templates. The picture sharpens fast. The source isn't a mystery, it never was. Above the waterline, the flight deck resumes its rhythm. Chains get checked, crews return to maintenance tasks. To an outside observer, the ship looks unchanged, just another carrier cutting through open ocean. But inside, the understanding has shifted. At 0427, airborne surveillance assets quietly reposition. No announcement accompanies the move. Nobody needs to be told why. Eyes turn outward, not in anger, in calculation. Beneath the surface, the launch platform, wherever it is, has already been located. Not targeted, located. That distinction matters, because what just happened wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. Proof that restraint doesn't equal vulnerability, that a modern carrier doesn't need to fire a shot to dominate the engagement space. The opposing side learns this lesson without a single explosion. Now they know something they didn't before. They know their shot was seen. They know it was tracked. They know it failed. And they know exactly why. At 0442, the ship's internal posture returns fully to normal. Watches rotate, coffee cups reappear, conversations resume in low tones. The crew moves forward because that's what professionals do after a threat has passed. But the encounter doesn't end here, not really. The data collected in those few minutes will travel far, into simulations, into training programs, into future doctrine. The torpedo that failed today will shape the response to the next one, launched somewhere else by someone watching closely. Because the message delivered wasn't emotional, it was mathematical. A message written in probabilities, not rhetoric. You can fire, we will see it. You can aim, we will break the chain. And if you choose to escalate further, you'll do it knowing exactly how visible you are.
The carrier continues forward. No change in heading, no change in purpose.
Behind it, the water closes. Above it, the sky stays empty. And somewhere beneath the surface, a weapon built to kill the most powerful ship afloat vanishes without ever touching it. No shots fired, no damage taken, only a quiet recalibration of power and a reminder that in modern naval warfare, the loudest message is often delivered without a sound. Some will call it luck, others will call it decades of training meeting one impossible morning. Either way, it's worth asking yourself what you'd have done in that sonar room, watching a line on a screen edge closer with every second, knowing the only weapon that mattered wasn't a missile or a torpedo, it was patience.